And Edom stands as a stark reminder that God's comeback against, well, I didn't do anything, will be, that's right, you didn't do anything. Israel seemed to forget that they were uniquely blessed, not solely blessed among the nations, uniquely blessed, blessed for a purpose, for God's purpose. One of the central fruits of sin, if not the central fruit, is division. These things that divide brothers, divide families, divide churches, divide communities, divide nations. Those of us familiar with Scripture will undoubtedly have crossed the path of division time and time again. Division is a cancer that few bodies ever recover from. It's another red flag, of course, if we look around the West. It doesn't bode well for us, with some very powerful entities working tirelessly to separate everyone into a group, seeking to encourage people to define themselves by those things that separate, that make them different, while at the same time casting as evil the things that bring us together. Almost every time they open their mouth now, you'll hear them having something to say about sexual preference, racial inequality, the patriarchy, historical sin, wealth against poverty. Are you poor? Well, that's the rich man's fault. Are you this color? Well, you need to be aware of those of another color. Are you female? Well, all your problems are masculine. You can't watch. You can't watch for 10 seconds without hearing the phrases. Those on the left, those on the right, the far right, the conspiracy theorists, the climate deniers, the anti-science people, the patriarchy, glass ceilings, racists, homophobes, pro-life, pro-choice. In the past 3 years, we've went from having 2 genders that apparently everybody knew to now over 100, with new ones being introduced every 5 minutes. Anything that is guaranteed to further divide and promote difference, they eat it up. And if we think that anything this concerted, this pervasive, this consistent divisiveness is coincidental, then we're going to have to get a backhoe to get our heads out of the sand. We know who stands behind division. We know whose spirit it is. At the family level, marriage is now tremendously discouraged. Divorce is now being celebrated and applauded, with sisters doing it for themselves, and we don't need no man. After years of losing in the courts, losing their homes, losing their finance, losing their children, young men have now woken up to the fact that while that remains to be true, there's very little point in them getting married. Why would you? You'd have to be an idiot. So, they're not. And it's our daughters who are paying the price. The young women are being encouraged above everything else to seek a career first. Career first. I remember men used to be evil when they put their career first. Remember that? Put their career first and their family second. Get your career settled. The problem with that, of course, and they're not ignorant of it, the problem with that from a female point of view is that a female's greatest asset when it comes to marriage and finding a mate is their youth and beauty. I'm 58 years old and I have still to hear a single solitary male say to his friend, "Whoa, look at her degrees." Or, I'm going after her, she's got her own home. And our youngish women are now quickly finding out that what attracts them to a male is not what attracts males to them. In fact, the opposite is true. I think it entirely fair to suggest that the more masculine a female appears, the less chance she has of attracting a male. Weirdly enough, men don't whistle at other men walking down the street. But these people are so arrogant and so bent on their ideology, they genuinely believe they're going to turn the entire course of human history and biology on its head and have a stronger house than before. That they can abandon all things godly and be more blessed. So marriage and family, the fabric of every society that's ever existed, are under assault at levels previously unheard of. And if it's true that the hand that rocks the cradle does indeed rule the world, well, then it's only a matter of time. You would be better betting against the tide. No one fights for a nation they've been taught to despise. Jesus absolutely assures us that a house divided against itself cannot stand. Cannot, not should not might not, cannot. And we who have the knowledge of why these things happen and who precisely is behind it are more often found ignoring it or denying it or applauding it. So what chance do they have? What chance do they have when those who can see the cliff that they're walking toward deny its very existence? In Obadiah and Amos, Edom, you'll remember, is severely judged for their unbrotherliness. It's a family matter. When Judah was destroyed, and they didn't even take part in the destruction. Their sin, their violence against Judah was inaction. They were judged because they stood aloof and did nothing, felt nothing, except perhaps a little bit of smugness. In Obadiah it reads, "On the day you stood aloof while strangers carried off his wealth and foreigners entered his gates and cast lots for Jerusalem, you were like one of them." As much as we all want it to be true, there's no such thing as a neutral position. Neutrality always favors someone. Not voting is a vote. Saying nothing, as you well know, is often louder than the loudest voice. And Edom stands as a stark reminder that God's comeback against, "Well, I didn't do anything," will be, "That's right, you didn't do anything. There is no spiritual Switzerland, no spiritual fence upon which we can sit. We're the ones with the words, up, down, light, darkness, in, out, saved, lost. He who is not with me is against me, said Jesus. There is no neutrality. If you're not with, you're against. He who does not gather with me scatters. Or in the reverse in Mark 9, we saw a man driving out demons, John said. We told him to stop because he was not one of us. Don't stop him, Jesus says. No one does a miracle in my name and then can in the next moment say anything bad about me. For whoever is against us, whoever is not against us, is for us. There is no neutrality, as Edom found out. To remain silent whilst witnessing a crime is to aid the criminal. We know this. Our teachers in our schools can be arrested, tried, and sentenced if they suspect child abuse and don't report it. So it's not that we can't grasp the concept. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. The judgment Judah was receiving at the hands of the Babylonian hordes was arranged by God himself. God raised up Babylon to do this. So even when the judgment arrives, and it arrives by God's own hand, brothers shouldn't be rejoicing in the suffering of their siblings. I don't want my boys off sniggering in a corner when I have to discipline one of their brothers. I want them sympathetic with their brother. I want them caring about the brother. I want them compassionate about the brother. I want them to remember, oh, that was me last week, or that could be me next week. And if I did find them uncaring or sniggering or aloof, as the text suggests, there's a good chance they'll get the same. That I'll bring down the exact same judgment on them. Why? Because my main aim within my family is unity. Because that's the bedrock where love and compassion and relationship have a decent chance of survival. Edom was not spared from being blessed, as the genealogy suggests. But with great blessing comes great responsibility, a lesson Israel herself seemed to struggle with. God asks Jonah, should I not be concerned about the people of Nineveh? The implication from Jonah's sulking is a reply that says, yes, God, you shouldn't be concerned about them. Not good enough. This is why teachings like Luke 6 are so righteously revolutionary, and that perhaps we've heard them so often, we forgot how bizarre they are. Love your enemies. Excuse me? Jesus, sorry, we were talking, and it sounded like you said, love your enemies. Yeah, I did. Oh, all right. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who curse you. Pray for those who mistreat you. If someone strikes you on one cheek, oh, Jesus, I got this one, I got this one. No, you're wrong. Put your hand down. I'm not wrong. You are wrong. You were about to say hit him back twice, right? Yeah. No. If someone takes your cloak, don't stop him from taking your tunic. Give to everyone who asks. And if anyone takes what belongs to you, don't demand it back. Do to others as you would have them do to you. Look, if you love those who love you, what difference is that? The only reason this doesn't feel like a two before is because we've heard it so often. These are outrageous words. But they're words toward building and unity and giving the world a decent chance at this. It's why Jesus going to Zacchaeus' house raised such a stink. It's why Jesus standing by the adulterous woman and taking her side is such a staggering witness of God's loving and compassionate character. God himself is being the prime example of someone loving those who are not particularly loving him. Or Paul quoting the proverb, if your enemy's hungry, feed him. If he's thirsty, give him something to drink. This is outrageous. It's why I wouldn't be surprised to learn if we discovered a manuscript, a fifth gospel, but in this fifth gospel, someone approached the cross and said, Jesus, I realize this isn't a good time for you, but we were talking, us over there, we were talking, and Frank said, you know Frank said that he heard you asking God to forgive those who were crucifying you. I mean, obviously Frank is, You did ask God to forgive. You were asking for mercy. Oh. Well, that's okay. I mean, given your situation, you got a lot of things on your mind. Obviously, you're not thinking straight. But, You are thinking straight. You've never thought straighter. All right. Well, listen, I'll tell the boys. We'll make sure none of it gets out. We won't tell a soul. You want people to know that you said that. All right, well, I'll just be over there with Frank. And of course, the last thing Jesus heard was Frank laughing and shouting, I told you, I told you. Which is why no one liked Frank. But Jesus ceaselessly demonstrating the heart and character of God is why we're so drawn to him. And that we are called to give it a go. That he hasn't simply saved us from something, he's saving us to something. That we get to give it a go, to live his life. That he trusts us to have a genuine attempt at life under this new light that we found. One of my favorite hymns, we sang it here on Sunday. Beyond this land of parting, losing and leaving, far beyond the losses darkening this, and far beyond the taking and the bereaving, lies the summer land of bliss. And the second verse is like it. Beyond this land of toiling, sowing and reaping, far beyond the shadows darkening this, and far beyond the sighing, moaning and weeping, lies the summer land of bliss. And while I don't expect every song to be able to capture everything, the third verse, beyond this land of waiting, seeking and sighing, far beyond the sorrows darkening this, and far beyond the pain and sickness and dying, lies the summer land of bliss. And I do understand how comforting such a hymn could be to someone who's going through terrible hardship and pain. Land beyond, so fair and bright, land beyond, where is no night, summer land, God is its light, oh happy summer land of bliss. But a main thread, a main thrust of the gospel story is precisely that we don't have to wait. That we can live the next life right now. That we get to exist within God's kingdom and under God's reign right now. We don't have to wait. We get to enjoy all the benefits of the kingdom, His love and fellowship, mercy, compassion. We even get to extend the invite to others now. Isn't that precisely the prayer Jesus instructed us to pray and then play our part in seeing that it is fulfilled? Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. The life that we live isn't a series of little religious, ritualistic behaviors. They are behaviors that pattern the character of God Himself, the tunnel through which His light and life and knowledge works its way to the earth, and that can shape the world. And it can hold an individual together, and it can hold a family together, and it can hold a church together, and it can hold a community together, and it can hold nations together. But we are the means by which His will is done on earth as it is in heaven. We're the ones that carry it out. And should we come across those who are suffering or even being judged or disciplined, glee or gladness or particularly smugness isn't the appropriate response. There's a bond of brotherhood that runs through us all, and we'd be fools to ignore it. We are not solely blessed. We are uniquely blessed. We're not simply saved from, we're saved for, to be a light to the Gentiles. And that means when they look at us and listen to us, they see and they hear things that resonate with truth and honesty and genuineness and goodness and compassion and patience. Not that we side with the world in their evil, or overlook it, or even give them the impression that God believes their evil to be anything less than evil. They deserve to be as warned as much as I do or you do. But being distinct from their evil doesn't include rejoicing over the pain that accompanies the judgment they might receive. And I'm not suggesting any of this is easy. None of it is easy. But if anyone ought to get this and to be able to give this life a good, honest attempt, then surely it's those whose names belong and sit firmly in the genealogy of the Lamb. Thoughts, comments, questions?